welcome to What's the Deal with Sam? Starring Sam Lilly. Join Sam as he discusses a wide variety of topics.
Bad mail.
Now let's start the show.
Thank you. What's the deal with Darth Maul? He's like Darth Vader with the ground. I don't fucking know. I don't have a start. But Darth Maul, I just wanted to bring this up because there's a thing that I was told about. That's an official thing in Star Wars canon now. This isn't like an old, like, oh, George Lucas did this and we don't, or some other fuck, and we're like, we don't count this part anymore. No, this is something that still counts. I don't know if it was created back then and then they kept this, or if it was something that was created, you know, for the newer EU. I don't keep track of this shit. All I know is I found out about this because it was one of the stupidest things I'd ever heard in Star Wars. And there's so much stupid shit in Star Wars, it's ridiculous. But this should have just been like retconned. It should have been taken out. Or if it was a new decision, it should have never been decided that way. I mean, if it's not George Lucas fucking it up, it's somebody fucking it up. Doesn't matter whose name is on there. Someone's gonna make some stupid shit decision and do something like say Darth Maul survived after Episode 1. I'm not making that up. That sounds like a thing that you would say for a ridiculous thing that they would do, right? You're like, oh yeah, make it so that Darth Maul lived. Like, yeah, I'm sure he totally lived. Apparently he did. If you don't remember, at the end of Episode 1, Darth Maul, a dude with the stupid red and black face paint stuff, who has the red lightsaber with the two ends on it, that these are the things that define him as a character. And also, he's the only thing that's a threat to the Jedi, so you have some reason to be like, oh, maybe they could be in trouble or die? They probably won't die. Maybe they'll die, I don't know, who gives a shit. And then it's like, okay, well, he's that guy. And near the end of that, he's the dude that cuts Qui-Gon Jinn or whatever. He kills him, and Obi-Wan's like, oh, you son of a bitch. He doesn't really say that. I'm paraphrasing because I don't think he says anything. And then Obi-Wan kills Darth Maul by cutting him in fucking half with his lightsaber. And, you know, you would think that generally human beings who are cut in half with a lightsaber, anything that would cut you in fucking half would fucking kill you. Maybe you wouldn't die immediately. Maybe there's a way to save you, sure. But I mean, the excuse I've heard is that the lightsaber cauterized the wound. Yeah, that's great. That's okay. So he didn't bleed out everywhere when he was cut in half, I suppose. He also fell down this gigantic pit. He was in two pieces, falling down a pit. Last we saw of Darth Maul. A pit that goes so far down, you can't even see the bottom when we're looking, like, straight down the fucking pit. So, you have to assume that is reasonably far down. Probably, you know, an amount that would be fatal to fall. Now, you think, oh, well, maybe Darth Maul do like, force jump stuff. Maybe he, like, force fell and broke his fall with the force or something stupid like that. And I'm gonna go ahead and stop you there and say no, because even if he had the ability to do something like that, that's usually if you jump, or usually the kind of landing you would do would be on your legs, which are no longer attached to his body. I assume he doesn't really have control over them. Like, I'm sure he could force throw his legs around still. You know, he'd just be like, you know, but he can't really control them when they're not connected to his fucking body. And so he's probably a little disoriented by not having half of his body. Probably doesn't really know how he would force land with that. And he's probably thinking he's gonna die because he's been cut in half and falling down a bottomless pit. I mean, it's probably actually a bottom, but, you know, are we ever gonna see it? Fucking no. So, it's probably reasonable to assume if he survived being cut in half, he would then have just would splat on the fucking bottom of whatever was under that pit. You know, I guess maybe it was magically a pit that went down to a bunch of pillows, and then there was a doctor right there that went and saved him immediately. And that's such a reasonable thing to assume that they don't even have to show that, of course, because we'll just assume that he's dead for the rest of the movies, and not really bring it up again, almost as though he actually died. Funny how that would work like that. It's just, I don't understand how you would assume he would be alive at all. Wouldn't they still sense his presence? Wouldn't he have come back in the movies? No, he was pretty much definitively implied, at least, as dead. But of course, he was such a great character, what with his face paint and double lightsaber, which defined him as a character, that they decided, well, bring him back, we'll say he lived, because people like how he looks or whatever. And also I hear that the reason he survived was because he was so powerful, because he had so much hate in him, which is fucking one of the... how stupid is that? How fucking stupid? Like, it's like we won because we have the power of love. It's like that, but with hate. And in Star Wars, where that really hasn't been a thing. Typically, love is like a bad thing, and hate is like a bad thing, and having that stuff doesn't necessarily make you stronger. It just influences how you use your powers. It doesn't give you more power, really, to have that. It doesn't really make sense that he was just really mad, so he lived from being cut in half and falling down a retardedly long fall. I'm sorry if that is it's just hard for me to have a suspension of disbelief there. Let's look at a couple other things here while we're just talking about this, while we're rapping here. Got Death Star. We got the scene in New Hope where Obi-Wan gets cut in half by Darth Vader, and sure, he kind of just magically evaporates into his robe. I don't know what that's about either. And he comes back later as like a Force ghost, but he's dead. He's still dead. It's like a ghost. So he died because he was cut in half. And pretty much anyone else you see get cut in half with a lightsaber in Star Wars dies. So why would Darth Maul just magically be the only one to not die? They should have just cauterized the wound, and Obi-Wan should have been fine because he had power of love or some bullshit. And then also the fall thing in Return of the Jedi. At the end of that, Emperor Palpatine gets just thrown down that pit, and he falls all the way down there. And that looks like it's pretty far down too. Who's to say that he died? Perhaps maybe he didn't die. Maybe he's fucking whatever Snoke or whatever the fuck they have in the new movie. That thing we don't know what the fuck it is. I don't know. Why not? I wouldn't really be surprised at this point if they decided, yeah, that's him, whatever. I don't fucking care, do it. And fucking, I don't know. It's just... You have to have some semblance of rules, some semblance of stakes. If he didn't die, what was the point? I don't know. Like, why didn't he come back? Why wasn't he used later? They wanted to use him for the EU, and that's why they decided later that he didn't die. Why couldn't you have another character that was similar to Darth Maul? Just a guy with face paint and a double lightsaber. It didn't necessarily have to actually be Darth fucking Maul. Just he didn't have any fucking character in the goddamn first place. He was a set piece. This is ridiculous. For all we know, none of the characters that are dead now are actually dead. Maybe we'll get another fucking movie. Maybe we'll get another movie with all the Rogue One characters. All of them will come back and be like, they didn't die because the Force. They were kept alive with the Force. The planet explosion cocooned them. There's like... Where do you draw the line anymore then? There has to be a semblance of stakes, and you have to be able to suspend your disbelief. But when they're constantly changing these fucking rules on you and using the flimsiest fucking excuse of, well, no, we want to keep these characters in here because people like these characters so we can make more merchandise and make more money. All that stuff that just happens to happen. It's very part of the creative process when they're creating money-making schemes. It's just that I even lost my train of thought being a snarky piece of shit. Look, it's just it doesn't have any like stakes there, and if you just say the Force said because of the Force, it happens because of the Force. That's really where I'm going with that. If that's your only real reasoning, and you can't really back that up with some kind of rhyme or reason to how the Force can do that, what the rules of the Force are, then the Force is such a nebulous thing. It's not cool anymore. It's just fantasy magic, writer's convenience tool, and it's stupid, and no one cares. And I don't know what's the deal with Darth Maul surviving in Episode 1? It's like fucking ridiculous.
What's the deal with Sam? What's the